Hi everyone, it's Cheryl here. It's Saturday, January the 18th. It's been a while since I've posted anything, so I thought I was about due. We're having a bit of a cold snap here in Calgary this weekend. Uh, I wanted to share something with you that I had come across quite by accident, and I took it as a sign that it was something I was supposed to share. I was looking for some other paperwork. I was doing some organizing and working on some tax papers. And in my process of looking for certain papers, I came across this information. Now, the information that I've got here to share with you tonight, I wrote 22 years ago. I received a download of information and I dated it, and it was dated in 2003. So we're looking at, it was the beginning of 2003. So we're looking at around 22 years ago. I thought it was kind of interesting because, I mean, at that time, I would write things and stash it away, and I wasn't really putting this information out there. And I've decided to share some of my older stuff now because some of it is kind of interesting. When I read it, I have no recollection of receiving this download. Quite often, I'm in an altered state when I get these downloads. I do it very rapidly. Either I record it or I'm writing in a sort of a semi conscious state, and I have no conscious recollection of it until I reread it. And even then, it's sort of like reading new information. So, anyway, I thought I would share this old download with you. And, perhaps you might want to make comments on it. Again, it could have some relevance to today. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to actually read it to you because this was all handwritten, and um, I go on to say with this download that this is a matter of simple truths, and these truths need to be heard um, for people to live a peaceful and joyous life. We are on the brink of a grand thing. This grand thing is of a momentous occasion in our evolution, not just the evolution of humankind, but one of cosmic evolution as well. Our time of budding growth is drawing upon us, and it is going to occur on a new level of awareness, not just awareness on the physical plane, but on many more dimensions and levels. And I go on to say that this story begins in 1974. This time is referred to as the at-one-ment phase, when beings worldwide were tuning into subconscious levels of new awareness. This period brought new entities to the Earth's energy field. This dimensional perpetration of new energies influxed our atmosphere with new energy particles, and new things began to happen. There were many new genetic and medical breakthroughs during this time. Now, to be honest, in 1974, I really don't know if that was true. Um, I'm just, this was a download I received in 2003, and it's going back to 1974. So, these medical breakthroughs were not from scientific analysis of data, but were from an infusion of new mental energies being stimulated by the influx of energy in the Earth's grid. These new energies made it possible for many to tap into parts of their brain and their mind and their way of thinking. The discoveries also allowed us as a planet to open up to new paradigms and to not become complacent with our limited knowledge of how things must or do work. Genetics was breaking ground during 1974 through 1977. Again, I don't know how true that was. I suppose if people research this, or if I decide to research it, I could find out. Anyway, the scientific community was almost in disbelief of their own discoveries. There were so many being made at one time that it almost seemed ludicrous, and many were questioning the legitimacy of the discoveries because they found so many, which is interesting. I guess new awareness and expanding mind, and suddenly all of these new angles and discoveries were happening because the mind had shifted. And I suppose, our scientific community likes to think of it as a long, slow process. I suppose it doesn't have to be if we get these influxes of energies that are shifting our mindset. Anyway, I'll carry on. Our awareness was going through tremendous shifts during these times. Today, there are a few sorry, I'm having a hard time reading my writing. Anyway, I'm going to say that there are a few people who realize the implications of these discoveries. I think I wrote world-wise. These breakthroughs were largely made by members of the scientific community who were working for the US and Canadian governments. Again, I can't say as I can verify that. This was a download. I wrote it, and then I filed it away. These government employees were guided to projects that were not on the official agenda. They were tapping into their new brain power and mind power that was triggered by the influx of particles in the Earth's electromagnetic field. The projects were truly inspired, and their brains were working in a different way. New DNA strands were activated. They had been previously sleeping and were wakened by this energy influx. Beings from other dimensions, and I have in brackets Remuli, I spelt it R-E-M-U-L-I, these beings from other dimensions were making contact with Earth people worldwide. This contact came through primarily in the dream state. Many were frightened by these new experiences, but most were not. The dream contact was very vivid and promoted trust in the altered state of dreaming. Mind energies were in a heightened state of awareness, and in this state, new ways of looking at things could take place. And this is how the scientific community received their inspiration to explore new possibilities. Gene sequencing was introduced into study. The patterns and intricacies were looked at, and splicing was better understood. 1974 was a major turning point in the development and understanding of all the potential genetic quests that were yet to come. Higher information was transmitted regarding genetics to help understand healing, body patterns, disease, and remedies. The vibrational qualities of genetics became clearer. Noted people were keen on pursuing this information for personal and financial gain. And this is how some of what was a good thing turned sour. Large companies got wind of some of the important theories and wanted in on the profit aspect. Companies such as Bausch and Lomb were actually cover companies for genetic research. Technics, a group that was related to pharmaceuticals and also had petroleum ties, and Exxon were keen on the genetic research. The original groups of scientists who started research and development were with governments, so their funding was broad-based and ongoing, but they had many suitors for many private companies. And the private companies were aggressive with obtaining what they wanted and retained their own group of researchers from the original gene splicers group. What most people don't know is that this information was never meant to be used the way it is being used now. Government groups, pharmaceutical companies, and profiteers were using this in ways to gain an edge and to focus only on material gain in the capitalist world. The original intention of this genetic information was one of vibrational transcendence. They discovered the genes could jump and mutate to a new vibrational level. The Hertz frequency change was in direct relation to relaxation, meditation, intuition, and psychic experiences. People were advancing and evolving on their own. So this, I think, is kind of timely now that I reread it again, as far as what we're going through today with how the companies and pharmaceuticals and, people who are wanting to profit from vaccines and profit from pharmaceuticals in general. And, I don't need to name names. You know who some of these people are that are multi-billionaires that have invested in not only health organizations, but have invested quite heavily in the profits or the profit-making pharmaceutical companies worldwide, and are using some of the third world countries as experimental research grounds. Anyway, it's interesting because this download I received, even though it took place in 2003, it's going back to 1974 to 1977 as the foundation as to how all these companies now are actually becoming so greedy, and how, controlling the profit margin for themselves and trying to make it seem like these are all necessary things that we need to be taking, when in fact there's a lot of evolutionary things taking place naturally from an influx from outside entities with good intention to bring advancement to our civilization and our mind growth. So it's kind of interesting that something that was brought with very high intention and, you know, for our own well-being and benefit to advance us in a way that is more of has a spiritual, I want to say, spiritual kind of evolution or enlightenment, if you want to call it that, was done with good will, and it was taken and manipulated, I guess would be a word, manipulated to uh, bring profits to the powers that be, to bring power to some of the larger organizations and governments as well, and has been used as a control mechanism for the general population, as opposed to being used to enlighten and help with advancement. But the interesting thing with this download is that we are doing this expansion on our own, and it cannot be interrupted or interfered with unless the powers that be prevent us from accessing our own intuition, psychic powers, our ability to meditate. And that all goes back to our pineal gland. So, we have to think about, so what's going on with the pineal gland? Are there things happening in our environment that are dampening our abilities to expand our own awareness and our own advancement with awakening our intuition to a whole new level and to opening up to more psychic experiences for the general population? And one of the big things that is taking place is fluoridation. They know that fluoride can actually cause calcification of the crystals within the pineal gland, and then the pineal gland doesn't function the same way. And your pineal gland is instrumental in allowing you to receive psychic information and intuitive information. And it's kind of sad, but this has been going on for a very long time. And they also have proven that areas that have higher fluoridation levels in the water, the general IQ of children is lower. And I mean, again, talk about dumbing us down. So I think it's really important that we have clean water, that we do everything we can to not drink fluoridated water. If your city is fluoridating, I would not drink the city water. Mind you, the city water is probably not the healthiest thing to be drinking anyway. But to have your own filtration system, whether that be reverse osmosis or mineral added distilled water, or however you choose to have clean water, I think that's really important. There are methods of decalcifying the pineal gland. I won't get into that today, but maybe in another video I'll talk more about the pineal gland and how you can get it cleaned up and access your intuition a little more easily, and you know, so that you can connect with your own capabilities in its highest level. So I thought that was kind of interesting thing to find while I was looking through my papers, and I might start posting some of my older downloads. I haven't read them in a while, and so it was kind of interesting, and I think kind of timely that I found this. Again, I haven't verified the information because I just found it this evening, actually. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll make the video and upload that because it sounded kind of interesting. I probably will do a little bit of research, although I don't know how effective that'll be because sometimes that's a tricky thing doing research about these topics. How accurate the research can be, I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Um, I hope you're having a fabulous weekend. And if you're in my area, try and keep warm. Anyway, take care, and until next time, we'll see you soon.